Now, welcome. Before I start, I want to give some credit to someone very special to me, not related to this story, but I saw her story on Facebook, I think, the other day. And her name is called Teresa Masharia. We fellowship in the same church, and she recently lost her son. And she made a comment there that really touched me, and I would want to repeat it in this video because somebody might wonder, why would you share such sensitive information? Are you looking for pity? Are you pity partying, or why do you need this? But this is what Teresa said. She said that the loss of a loved one, and in this case her son, is very dear to her. And when she shares such information, she's not looking for pity from anyone, but she's just holding firm to what has been left with her, and that is memories. And that really touched me. And I wanted to add that to this video, that when we share information about loss, when somebody shares something that is very dear to them, don't think that they are looking for pity. Actually, far from that. Most people who have lost maybe a parent, who have lost a son, who has lost a spouse, the last thing they would want from you is pity. And that is why most of them never share this information. So as I share this, it is not meant to look for pity from anyone. And I just wanted to lay that there. So let me get. So let me get started. So the setting of this story is in Mokarara back in 1991. If you remember well from my first video about angels in my life, I mentioned about my grandma who has really raised me to be who I am today. And one day in 1991, when I had just reported to class 1, that's my grandmother, she had a visitor, and this visitor came over, and my grandmother had raised me well, so I greeted the visitor and I went on with my chores. But then she called me and she told me, by the way, she doesn't call me Sam, even today she calls me the Mweri, the TH, the Mweri, not Samweri. I don't think she has S in her vocabulary. So she called me, the Mweri, come, I have something to tell you. And she comes and she's told me something that I never expected. So she told me that, hey, this lady here, this is your mother, and she has come so that you can go with her. And I was not ready to take such news, so I said, no, I'm going nowhere. But after some persuasion and after some talk, that is when she told me that, hey, this is your mom, and you need to obey your mom, and your mom wants to raise you, and she wants to go with you to bigger town so that you guys can start off. So that is the day that I laid my eyes on a lady who was very beautiful, dark like me, the dark pigmentation I think I got from her, very tall, again just like me. My hair is also like hers, and you have seen it in my daughter. Those who have seen my daughter, I look at the resemblance, it's there totally. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the day that I met my mom, the day when I would say my life took a turn, because this is a person that I had never known, and God made it that we start our journey there. And to me, it was quite good inside. Once I warmed up to her, she was that person that I can say she changed my life. She was a God-fearing lady, very slim, like my wife, and I'd say it was about time that we met, because if we had not met, maybe we would never have gotten that opportunity. So we went on to Thika, and I started learning her. I started learning about her. But you see, back then, those who are of my generation, you'll understand that back then there are questions you never ask. For example, you never ask her, why was I being raised by my grandmother? Where were you? But to me, I was just happy that, hey, I have my wife, I have my mother with me, and that was that. And then also, when we joined up, is also the same time that I learned that I had a brother. And by then, my wife, my mother, continuing to call my mother is called Wairimu, Hannah Wairimu. That's about the same time that I learned that I had a brother. So we were not only was I rejoined with my mom, but I was also rejoined with my brother, who was also not staying with my mom because he had gone to boarding school. But now my mom went for him, and we started going to school the same place. And my brother is called James, for those who know him. A story about him will come, because there is also a twist in the tale about James. But this story is about my mom, and that is how I met her. That's how I started living with her. I started eating her food, started warming up to her. I loved her. I still love her to date. And then one day, remember that is 1991. 3 years later, that is around 1993. I remember early in the morning, something bad happened. I think it was around 5 a.m. So my mom had some issues with her health, and she told me to call my aunt. Remember, back then there were no phones, so you cannot start calling somebody to come over. Luckily, we had an auntie who was staying like around 50 meters from where we lived. I don't know how she got home, because I don't remember running there. I also don't know whether it is my brother who went for my auntie. But my mom got sick, and she was taken to Thika District Hospital. So those of you who know why on my birthday I go to Thika District Hospital, now you know. So she was rushed to hospital, and then when it was around 7 a.m. we had to change and go to school. Again, the school was nearby, so there was no problem of having. Then back then, you just walk to school. Nobody had issues with you. See, come a school where everybody is just scared. So I had a very bad morning. For some reason, it was not okay. And I'm trying not to be emotional about this, because I've cried about it for long enough. And it was so bad for me that my teacher, I can't remember her name, but I considered her a parent to me, she noted that I was not myself. So at around 12, the teacher called me and asked me, "Hey Sam," I think she used to call me Thuo. "Thuo, what is wrong? Because I can see there's something wrong with you." And I don't know where I got the words from, but I told her my mom is dead. And I don't know where I got that notion from, but I just said it out. And she told me, "Who told you that?" I told her, "Nobody, but I know she's dead." And the teacher took a moment, and then she told me, "Just go to your aunties." So our lunch hour would go to where my mom used to sell her wares in a market. And we'll take lunch there and then go back to school and then leave at around 3:45. So she told me, just go for lunch and don't come back in the afternoon. Just go and rest. So I went, and then I found my Auntie Beth. one of my stars in my life too. And she gave me food. And by the fact that she was the one who was giving me food and not my mom, and then I could not even ask her where my mom was. So I just took the food. And then she asked me, are you not going back to school? And I told her, the teacher told me not to. So I know even her, she was in shock too. So she never asked me why. So she just told me, just stay there, okay, no problem. Then at around 4 p.m., my teacher came over because back then teachers knew our parents. So the teacher passed by and she asked my auntie, I had a talk with Sam and he gave me some news that were weird, and that is why I asked him not to come to school. So my auntie asked the teacher, what did he tell you? And the teacher said that I asked him about what was wrong with him, and he said that his mom was dead. And my auntie looked at me and she asked me, how did you know? And who told you so? So I told her nobody told me, but I just know. And that is when my fears were confirmed, because my auntie looked at my teacher and she told her that is so. I think that was the hardest moment in my life. And that is how I lost the one person that I held most dear to my life. She was the only woman that I considered that deep in my life, because she was my mother. I never even got a chance to ask her who my father was. And it was tough for me, especially the whole week that followed, because there are those mashakayas, what do you call them? Those meetings at home for the 1 week before somebody is buried. And I could not take it hearing even those songs in our house. And here I was. My brother was mentally handicapped. So I don't think he had that recollection of what was happening. But me, I was 100% sure. I was totally in the know of what had happened, and I knew that my life would never be the same again from then. And I don't think many people know about this, because the lady that brought me up like her own son. And even the people who I schooled with wouldn't. I think it was only one lady called Penina. She was my best friend in primary school. She was the only one who knew that she was dealing with an orphan. So that's when I got that title of an orphan. Not a good title, but then that is life. And sometimes life just goes like that. I never asked God questions why that had to happen, but that happened. And that was the short story about how I met my mother. 3 years, 3 months. I think it's around 3 years, because she took me when I was in class 1, term 1. And I lost her when I was in class 3, term 1. So that's around 3 years. Same as the 3 years of Jesus ministry. But the 3 years to me was enough for me to know all about her. And maybe it was God telling her to take your children so that the children can know you before maybe you pass on. And she made a recording. She made a cassette. I wish I had access to that cassette, because immediately I had it. I don't know where my auntie took that recording, but she didn't sing, but she did a collab with a guy who was singing, and in that, after the song, day. She showed me how to pray, showed me the value of being a good person, tough disciplinarian. I think my cousins can attest. She once beat me. I can remember the beat. There is a day I had to run away, and my cousins had to run after me so that I can go back to her, and I have fond memories about her. A pity that we did not have enough years together, but maybe those 3 were enough. Maybe they were more than maybe what I was entitled to. But let me end my story there. I'll give the next story about the third angel in my life, and it represents a shift in my life where you move from being a normal child to being an orphan, and where your life hangs by the thread, because nobody has the has the obligation to raise you. That person who is not your parent, they can easily move away and nobody would ask them a question. But they have taken up the mantle, and I am where I am because most of them made sacrifices for me and to be with me. So God bless you so much. Have an enjoyable week. This is Sunday. We are about to prepare to go to church and go and worship God. Thank you. God bless you. For those people who are suffering, those people who have lost, keep strong. It's never easy. It's never understood by many, but you have to understand that this is life, and sometimes things do happen. God bless you. Bye bye.